If you have a small business and you're trying to stay afloat right now, you need money, you need a loan in order to pay your people, keep them on the payroll, keep your business afloat, watch this video. I'm going to be making it super simple and as quick as I can because I think that the speed and the efficiency that this information is delivered right now is very important. Okay, you guys, so that $2 trillion stimulus package you've been seeing on the news everywhere, that's a part of the CARES Act. Now, a part of that is about $350 billion that the banks are going to be lending out through loans, and that's called the Payment Protection Plan. And it's exactly as it sounds. It's protecting the payment of your employees, and it's to help out the small businesses. Now, just for a little bit of information beforehand, just so you understand the situation, Friday is when they say they're going to be able to start giving out these small business loans. Today is Monday, but that's when they're going to be able to start processing them. Now, the issue with our system and with having the banks giving out these loans and not having a different system of getting the money to these businesses quicker is, on one hand, we have the negative, which is that we're not able to get money to the small businesses when they need it, which is right now because Friday is when they can start processing them, but it's going to take all of these banks at least probably 3 to 5 days to collect all the documents they need in order to approve that loan, unless they want to substantially increase the risk of fraud and have a lot of problems on the back end like we had with 2008, 2009 when they were just giving loans and giving money out to everybody. Now, the positive is that we don't have an issue like we had back then, but it's all going to be determined by the speed. And right now, they're getting it out pretty quickly, but it still might not be fast enough for a lot of businesses. So that is the unfortunate part of all of this. How do you apply for one of these small business loans? It's going to be from a bank, most likely the bank you already have, because there are 1,800 approved SBA lenders. So that's Chase, Wells Fargo, US Bank, a ton of other, super popular ones. So unless you have kind of, a very, very small bank that you use, you're most likely already going to be able to use the same bank you have. What you're going to want to do is call them and make sure that they're an SBA approved lender so that you can start getting, and find out if they have any information on the paperwork they're going to need from you. That way, when Friday comes around, you can instantly give them everything you need and try to speed up the process as quick as possible and do whatever negotiation on interest rates and whatever you have to do as quickly as possible. Now, if you don't fall into one of those 1,800, what you're going to want to do is go to one of the links I'm going to put down in the description. I'm going to call it, let's say, SBA, I'll say SBA offices, okay? And you can go there and there will be a map that'll show you the different offices you can contact in order to get some assistance on finding an SBA approved lender that's near you. Okay, now who is eligible for these small business loans? It's going to be small businesses, nonprofits, tribal businesses, self-employed individuals such as sole proprietors and self-employed contractors. And then you had to have been in business as of February 15th of this year, right before all of this occurred. And that is what is going to put you in that eligible list of who's able to apply for these loans. An overview of the program itself is that you could be lended up to $10 million, and that's going to be determined by your last 8 weeks of payroll, plus, averaged out, plus an additional 25%. The problem I could see with that is if you already had to start laying people off, you may not be able to come to full staff because you're only receiving a loan that's averaged out among what you've been paying for the past 8 weeks. But on the positive side, your payments can be deferred for up to 6 months. The maximum interest rate on these loans is 4%. Now, supposedly by next week, the SBA is planning on creating a system where they're going to be able to make and give out these loans within that same day. If they are able to do that, it's going to be very, very helpful. Now, another good thing about these loans is that you don't have to have collateral taken out in order to get them. Now, as far as the loan forgiveness goes in those first 8 weeks, if you are to, go and lay some people off or decrease their pay and they already make less than $100,000 a year, then the portion of your loan that you get, forgiven may also decrease as well alongside that. Now, the SBA already has a lot of different loan programs. All this payment protection plan is doing is bumping those numbers up. So for example, in the express loan program that they have, that typically takes 36 hours and you're able to get $350,000, that is now bumped up to $1 million. So for that specific loan program they have, they've just increased the numbers. And it's the same thing for all the other ones. So for example, the standard 7A loan program that people typically get, that can take up to 5 to 10 days to process, that the number is usually at 5 million, but now they've bumped it up to 10 million that they're able to loan out for that. Another huge thing to understand is that typically these loans are only guaranteed up to like 80-85%, up to a certain number, or 70 to 75% up to a larger number, right? Now, this program, the payment protection program, it temporarily increases the amount that the loan is guaranteed to 100%. What that does is essentially the government is taking on the responsibility for you, the small business owner. If you were to default on that loan, the government is taking on that responsibility for that. And they're the third party acting through the bank, taking on the responsibility for that loan. Now, the reason that they would do that is to incentivize the banks to give out these loans easier and faster to the small businesses, and that's why they're doing it. Because do you think the banks are going to take on the responsibility for all of these small businesses at the worst time where the chances of them defaulting is the highest if they don't have some sort of guarantee? No, right? So that's why the government is temporarily increasing that 100% to that 100% guarantee. So these loans were already in place, but the reason that people were not running to go get them is because traditionally the red tape in order to secure them was it was a lot. You had to go through a lot in order to get these loans, and it took a long time and everything. But now, they're waiving the guaranteed fees. You don't have to prove that you weren't able to get a loan or credit elsewhere. They're doing a ton of things in order to decrease the amount of steps in this process in order to make it easiest for you. So if you're a small business, call your bank, see what they have to say, and if you need it, go and get one of these small business loans.